It's Monday and time for the Back to Business podcast, featuring Calgary's industry leaders. Welcome today's show host, Kim Hayden.
Former AGM Dave Jones is in the studio today talking about all the cool stuff he's doing with Basecamp. So stick around, learn what's in our own beautiful backyard here in the Alberta Rockies and on into BC. But first, our land acknowledgement.
In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge that we live, work, and play on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, Siksika, Ga'aina, Piikani, the Tsuut'ina, the Eahe Nakota Nations, the Métis Nation Region 3, and all people who make their homes in the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta.
Alrighty, welcome to the show, Dave.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited because you are kind of living the dream. You're out in Canmore, correct?
I am. Yeah, I am living the dream out there for sure.
You are living the dream.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows the Canadian Rockies knows that we have probably one of the world's most gorgeous backyards, and you get to work there every day.
Yeah, really lucky.
So you're with Basecamp, and Basecamp is new to me, much like it's probably new to a lot of our listeners. So I'd like to dive in to Basecamp starting from the ground level. But first, give me a little bit of that pre-frame as to who is Dave Jones. Kind of what is your background? Because I know you had 25 years in this space, and you must have started when you were 12 because you don't look that old.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny. When I was driving here today, I was thinking I'm going to be in the hospitality business. I started in April 1992 as a dishwasher in the back of house kitchens and moved my way up through culinary, and that's how I started. And that's almost 30 years. So started in the back of the house, the kitchen, moved my way into the front of house. I did everything from bartending to serving. Got into supervisory roles, management roles. Really enjoyed the club business, and have been in it forever. And it's funny. I think of my grade 12 year in high school, and I went to high school in Canmore. I was lucky enough to grow up in Canmore, which was pretty awesome. But I remember going to see the guidance counselor in grade 12, and I talked to her, and I really wanted to go into pharmaceutical sciences. I wanted to be a pharmacist. And she's like, oh, okay. We go over my little file, and grades are good and all that kind of stuff. But she asked me, what are you doing now? I said, well, I work in culinary, She's like, do you like it? I'm like, yeah, I really enjoy it. I like cooking. I like interacting with guests. I like all that kind of stuff. So she said, well, why don't you pursue that? Why don't you post-secondary that? Try that out. And I was like, well, it's not really what I want to do. And anyways, she told me that, and I thought about it for a week or two, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to do it. And went into hospitality school after high school in Canmore and moved into Calgary and started out SAIT and got immersed in the culinary world there. And that's when I got introduced to the private club industry. I had a friend that was at school there and ended up working with him at the Glencoe Club here in Calgary, which is pretty awesome. Great club, great community. And that's when I started to learn about community of clubs. And then after that, ended up back in Canmore at the Canmore Golf and Curling Club. There was a role there in food and beverage and a management role, so I went and took that. And one day, general manager at the club said, I'm moving to a Soyuz, and he got up to leave, and the board of directors at the time asked me to kind of run the food and beverage operation, so I did that, and that's it. I club business then, got into management, worked in Canmore Golf and Curling Club for many, many years in different roles and different capacities. And then I ended up here at the Calgary Petroleum Club as the assistant general manager, and was the Petroleum Club for a short amount of time. I wanted to kind of back away and spend more time with my growing daughter at the time. She was 3 going on 4, and did that. Had a few months at home with her, which was really nice. And then this opportunity presented itself at Basecamp, and it was through a friend who was working at Basecamp as the controller, and she said, you got to meet the owner. I was like, okay, who's the owner? She said, the owner is Sky McLean. And so I met Sky McLean at a Greasy Spoon Diner one morning for breakfast. We had a great chat, and I thought, wow, what an interesting individual, right? She's got lots of energy, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, but she's a unique individual. She's a real entrepreneur. She's really cool. So I love working for her. and got in with Basecamp as a director of operations and ran the operation side of the hotel business. And as time went on, got more involved and moved into the president of operation role. And now I'm the COO and helping run the whole business. Basecamp's just not hospitality. We have a bunch of hotels, but we also are a real estate development group. We do some light industrial, we do some residential. We have a lot of things going on. So as you can imagine, when you're led by a true entrepreneur, she's got people phoning her every day, and she's phoning people every day, and great connections. And so there's always something in the pipeline.
Always something. Well, it sounds like you always have something in the pipeline
Always,
too.
yeah.
I think what's really fascinating about the story, about your background, is that promote from within, that growth from within.
Mm-hmm.
And that's unique, I think, to the hospitality space, is that you can really grow through the ranks. I know that our GM here at the club is that a prime example of
100%.
growing through the ranks. And I think in the world today, everybody goes, oh, well, you have to know somebody in order to get there. And then, whereas with the hospitality, I think it's still very much that almost that family feel. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And I agree. Like, that's where I learned about the promote within is in the club business. Because, like members, like employees, people that come to work at the club, they want to be part of that community, right? And that's why I'm a member here. I have a golf membership in Canmore. I think it's important. It's not always about, coming out to hit the ball around or, coming to have fine wine and dinner, but it's also to see the people, talk to the people. And the staff, I think, really recognize that they want to grow within the company and have those opportunities. I've always been big on that myself, and I give credit to the club industry that's where I learned that. Promote within. Your biggest number one resource in your company is your people, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I know that and maybe I'm just unique, as my mother always said, but I really, really value when I walk in somewhere and somebody remembers my name.
I know, it's nice, isn't it?
It makes me feel seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a world where a lot of us are feeling not seen or that our business isn't valued, I think coming back to these smaller companies away from the big chains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Companies like Basecamp can make a difference in people's experiences.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. So first of all, tell us, there's 13.
Yeah,
correct?
so there's 12 operating properties right now in the hospitality portfolio. The 13th is going to open in May in Revelstoke downtown. It's called Basecamp Suites. It's more of a boutique studio to 3-bedroom unit with full kitchens and washers and dryers. But if I take you on the tour, heading west towards the mountains from Calgary, our first property is in Kananaskis called Sundance by Basecamp. It's a campground with teepees, trappers tents, and glamping. Then we move into Canmore. We've got Northwinds by Basecamp. It's kind of our economy scale property. We also have the Lamp House by Basecamp, which is right on Main Street in Canmore. It backs onto the Policeman's Creek Pond. Very nice property. Park your car for the weekend. You don't have to, drive anywhere. You can walk everywhere. It's great. Basecamp Lodge on Bow Valley Trail, and then Basecamp Resorts, which was our first property that was opened in 2017. It's 32 townhouse style units with, again, full kitchens, washers and dryers and all that kind of stuff. So it's good for extended stay. We have a Basecamp Suites downtown in Canmore as well. 11 units that are great to come, again, park your car and have a good time. Rooftop hot tub as well, which is really nice for people. And then we've got Mountain House by Basecamp. So like I mentioned when we were having our pre-conversation here, it's at the base of Silvertip when you come off the Trans-Canada Highway. 100 rooms. It's I call our upscale property. Great level of service. As soon as you walk in the front doors, we have a wood-burning fireplace. We also have Rhythm and Howl, which is our newest food and beverage product in the hotel. It's a 100-seat restaurant. We have a very talented chef, Jason, who's from the Okanagan. So he's been a great addition to the team. We just opened that in September.
Rhythm and Howl.
Rhythm and Howl.
Is there music there too? Because I'm hearing a rhythm.
No music. But if you come in, the music that's playing, on the speakers in the restaurant, You'll love it. It caters to everyone. Sometimes the 80s is playing, sometimes it's jazz, but it's all curated depending on the time of day as well, right down to the lighting, right? So it's great. We have a daily happy hour from 3 to 6, 7 days a week. The place fills up. It's lively. It's great. So that's Mountain House. And Mountain House, and I'll speak a little more about it later, is the Nordic Spa that we'll be building on site as well. So that will open in the fall of 2025. And it'll be a different Nordic Spa experience than what some people are used to. It's going to be more like the Group Nordique spas that you would find in Quebec and Ontario, which is very nice. And then moving into Banff, we have Basecamp Suites in Banff. And that one is located right downtown as well, right by Cascade Mall. Baker Creek by Basecamp out by Lake Louise, which is right off the 1A highway. So that's those cabins and junior suites. We have jacuzzi suites. We've got wood burning fireplaces. We got record players in the cabins. Really cool and something different and unique, which is really nice. Then moving further west, we're going to Golden. We got Basecamp Lodge in Golden, which is a timber frame structure right on the Kicking Horse River, which is really cool. And then into Revelstoke, we have Northwinds by Basecamp. Again, it's one of our economy-based our hotels with king and queen rooms. Up by the Columbia River, we have Basecamp Resorts, 32 units, outdoor hot tubs that look over the river, which is really nice. And Basecamp Suites, like I mentioned, which will be opening in May.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay, let's take this back to base level. Where does the name come from, and how long has Sky? You had a really great story of how she started this company.
Yeah.
So if you could share that with us, and then I'd love to know where does the base camp? Is that because it's at the base of a mountain? Where does that name come from?
Well, Basecamp. What goes along with Basecamp? It's where your adventures begin. So that's why the name is Basecamp, right? We know that the name Basecamp, we see it being used in other places, but it's very true and unique for our market and what we do. You really only find us in resort communities. You'll find us in the Selkirks and the Purcells and the Rocky Mountains. That's kind of our thing. You probably wouldn't find us in Northern Alberta. That's just not our market, right? It's not the people that come to stay with us. We have a unique following of people that come. But again, now that we have so many different product types, we're good there for the economy traveler up to the extended stay people, which is nice. So yeah, jumping back to Sky McLean. So Sky McLean, originally from Toronto, she got an MBA in real estate development out of York. And she always wanted to be out in the mountains. That's her thing. True entrepreneur, loves to mountain bike, cross-country ski, downhill ski. You'll find her heli skiing. That's her life. She loves it. She's got 2 kids, great husband. And so she's between Canmore and Revelstoke. That's where she'll kind of go, depending on how the snow is, how the mountain biking is, and those sorts of things. So her vision was she had a real estate job in Calgary, and she had a 1-bedroom, 1-bathroom little condo in Canmore that was on Airbnb. She'd use it to come stay in the mountains, but she'd also rent it out. And one day she realized, she said, you know what, this is a great opportunity, this whole Airbnb model. But I want to do it next level up with some parameters and some guidelines and some proper leadership and management. So she went and built Basecamp Resorts on Bow Valley Trail, which is 32 units. And at the time, her brother-in-law, Jeff McLean, he lives down in Los Angeles, but he is a producer. So he produces commercials, and he also did 2 Netflix documentaries. So he's very creative mind, right? He knows what he's looking for, what he wants. So he helped create that Basecamp brand with her. Again, before my time, but that's kind of where the name and everything came from. Our social media presence is, we have a heavy following on Instagram. So he is very creative eye to make sure that those Instagram ads and things you see there and things you see on our website, he's really had attention to detail on it. So that's how his involvement in there. And she just kept going. So she had the Basecamp Resorts built. Another opportunity next door came available, conversion. So she took it over and renovated it. And that was Basecamp Lodge. And then the actual property on Main Street in Canmore, the Lamppost Hotel, she built that she renovated it. And that was in May. I remember because I think I started in June. So I came on when there was 3 properties. and have been part of it ever since. And it's been amazing. You know, like when I started, we had 26 employees, and now we're sitting at 275 plus between
Wow.
BC and Alberta. Yeah, so we've got a lot of people working for
And
us
that's
now.
such a great legacy to leave, is when you can build something that then supports so many other families. And I think that's what we forget about a bit when we look at companies that are working to scale and working to serve, is that not only are we serving the people who are coming to us, right, and serving our local community, but we also have this whole community of people who work for us that we help provide for their children's orthodontics through having that consistent pay and such. And that's what I love when I see startups like Basecamp, is that you know that the absolute impact has such a ripple effect. It's so massive.
Yeah.
What year was it that Sky started on this journey? What year was Basecamp
2016, she kind of started everything moving, and the land was available in Canmore, so she purchased the land. But we always say, like, Basecamp, when it went up, it was erected and started, it was 2017.
Wow.
So it's a short amount of time when you think when COVID came into the mix.
Yes.
For 2+ years, right, with everything.
Well, and if somebody's listening and they don't know Alberta's economics, that was actually one of the toughest times in the economy for Alberta. We had a lot of pulling the belt tight and a lot of praying going on. And to see the innovation come out of that time frame and then weather through COVID, which decimated many people in hospitality.
Many industries, right?
Yeah, many industries. I think hospitality was one that really got hit super hard.
Yeah.
And every aspect of it, from tour guides to the culinary side, right?
Yeah.
You're opening the new spa. Can you tell us a little bit about the spa? You said it's more like what we see in Quebec.
Yes.
Can you give us, like, what is that? What would I see in Quebec if I'd actually been there?
What you see there is, again, spas always have that premise behind them that there is a cycle when you go through a spa, right? You know, there's cold plunge, there's hot, there's mudding. We have mudding as well. And hot and cold thermal rooms. We also have some pods we're going to put on the land that people can use to either just have a nap, relax, be by themselves. And then what's special about our spa is we're not a silent spa. Some are, where you go and it's very quiet, it's, you know, that kind of stuff. We're going to have a quiet side to our spa, but we're also going to have a social side. So if you want to get out and have a drink and have something to eat and be in your robe, get back in, have a conversation with somebody, no problem. So that's what we're more like, and that's what you start to see more out in the East in the spa business, because people want to go, and sometimes they want to go and just be by themselves and relax, but sometimes they want to go with a friend and have a conversation and that kind of stuff. So.
Well, and I think a lot of times, not especially for women, but women, we tend to be at times a bit more conservative on our time and our money, right? Yeah. And yet, if our girlfriend wants to go and do something, we'll go, okay, we'll do it, right? You know, I wasn't planning on spending $3,500 on a vacation this month, but you need a friend, so I'll go with you. And I think that is, and I know this will shock you, but I can be a little loud. So.
Really? You can, eh?
Yes, I can. So I'm not a good quiet spa person.
Yeah.
So I don't tend to go to a lot of quiet places with friends.
That'd be the
so
perfect
I'll be
place
good.
for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So if you're listening to this, once the spa comes up, or if you're listening, I guess you would be listening to this if you actually hear me say this. But when the spa comes up, if you want to go, let me know. I'll go with you. So I'll be your spa buddy.
And it's funny, we've done a lot of research too, like who are spa users, who goes, how long do they stay, all those sorts of things. And women love the spa, right? Stagettes. It's a huge business in spas, right? Yeah, you don't see a lot of bachelor parties there, but you see the stagettes go, right?
Yeah, so, yeah. And I think like there's got to be a whole business also in the just divorce. I still think that should be a whole industry, because I have some girlfriends who got divorced. I think they spent more money on their divorce party than they did on their wedding. So I'm going, there's
Yeah.
got to be an industry there. But
Divorce
there's-
travel. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. What are some of the things that you think we can do here in Alberta? Or let's actually take this from a positive point of view. What are some of the things you think that we do here in Alberta that have become beneficial to industry growth
In hospitality.
in hospitality?
So what I found is I met with the Minister of Tourism and Sport from Alberta about a month ago now. He was in Canmore. I like what Travel Alberta and and our current government's doing to drive tourism. I think they're really starting to help those industries out. And when people think of tourism in Alberta, a lot of people think of the Rocky Mountains. They think of Canmore and Banff and Kananaskis, but there's a lot of markets out there for tourism in Alberta, right? There's the Drumheller area, there's Old Sundre, there's down south. There's a lot of places to go. There's Crow's Nest, right? Waterton. And sometimes Albertans, and a lot, as we know, on a Friday or a long weekend, everyone heads west towards the mountains. And I think people sometimes forget that there's other great tourism markets as well in Alberta. And I want people to come out to the mountains and stay at Basecamp resorts. But I also want people to remember that there's really good markets here in Alberta. And I really think that Travel Alberta is really making a really good effort to ensure that that Albertans, especially Canadians, and then outside of Canada, are really starting to think of Alberta.
I have to say, I 100% agree with you. I think I've lived here since 99, and I think that in the last probably 7 years, that our tourism industry, our economic development, our downtown associations, our chambers, everybody is coming to the table with solutions and their creative thinking. And I would agree. Like, there's a great little diner down in what's now Diamond Valley, because Black Diamond and
That's right.
Turner Valley just merged. So, and like municipalities are getting smarter too, because they're going, okay, we can't get funding for a new school if we're two, but we're only 5 minutes apart. So let's merge. So like, there's really cool things. I find Alberta is, it's really about the solution. Throw us your problems. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, like our industry partners, we don't have a mandatory DMO in Canmore, Kananaskis. Some markets do. Banff, for example, all the hotel partners there go into the DMO, which really helps out the whole town of Banff as well into Lake Louise. And Canmore, it's voluntary. So our Basecamp properties are part of the DMO. We think it's beneficial. It's great. Canmore, Kananaskis tourism really drives a lot of interest into the Bow Valley, which is really, really nice. But then, like I said, not everyone contributes, but everyone benefits, which is great. And recently we just had which just finished yesterday, the World Cup in Canmore at the Canmore Nordic Center. So our properties, as well as many others, had all the athletes, teams staying there. So we had different countries with us, which was really cool to see all the athletes being shuttled in and out up to the Nordic Center. And it's imperative that those special events continue to happen in Alberta, and that goes for summer and winter, any Nordic events, but as well as mountain biking, the Red Bull competitions. Get that stuff into Alberta, and it's really going to help us out.
And like I said, I'm pretty impressed by what everybody's doing right now. It's like everybody's pulling together for the first time since I've lived. It's interesting because I talked to a gentleman that is on the Detroit Chamber of Commerce, and we talked about why Alberta is emerging from the 2016-2015 financial crisis.
Yes.
And Detroit didn't. And it really comes down to that adaptive spirit, that solution-oriented thinking, going, okay, that's not working anymore. What are we doing next?
Yeah.
And that sounds like Sky in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's not working. What we can do, right?
And as an outsider looking in, like me looking into the city of Calgary, when I used to work here downtown 5.5 years ago, is I see it's livelier now.
Yeah.
The downtown, and I really like what I'm seeing here. It's really good
And with
for Calgary.
the new conference center coming, which is my understanding, like major conferences, they're booking up into 2030 now. Like and the economic opportunity that spins out to Canmore and spins out to Banff and Lake Louise. I mean, people, I think, are going to be coming here for longer stays. So they'll get their work in, but they're also going to get their play in.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited about that. What is a hidden gem? Give me a hidden gem. I know you mentioned Rhythm and Howl.
Yeah.
And so that's for me, a hidden gem. I have never been there as yet. Yeah. I will make it up there. What's a favorite hidden gem in all the places that you travel and go to? Where's a place that you go, man, more people need to know about this?
Well, if you don't mind, I'll talk a little bit more about Rhythm and Howl, which makes it kind of cool. And the name, because people are like, why is it Rhythm and Howl? And again, it brings me back to, I was mentioning Jeff McLean earlier. Again, he's a creative guy, right? So the name is very like Los Angeles, but it's cool. People are really catching on to it. The branding, the logo, everything's neat. But what's neat about Rhythm and Howl is where the ingredients come. So the chef, Jason, he's a scratch chef. So everything's from scratch. Nothing comes out of a box except the ingredients. But what he focuses on is Alberta, BC, Washington State, Oregon, and California. So kind of like that upside down L. So that's his thing. So, if you want fresh shucked oysters, you can have it. If you want duck breast, you can have that. It's just amazing. Always fresh, locally sourced stuff. It's really nice. It's a change, and we love good competition, and there's lots of great culinary spots in Canmore and Banff. We all know that, right? And there's a local group that's come into restaurant in Canmore that we consider a competitor, but they knock it out of the park as well, and they're great. So myself, I'll kind of go back and forth, right? Support our restaurant, but also go to the other one because it's really good as well. So that's Rhythm and Howl. Hidden gem for me, I think. We're in the market is Revelstoke. Now, people think, okay, Revelstoke has, the ski hill and probably arguably one of the best ski hills ever. They get the most amount of snow, which is pretty awesome. But, the Mickelson Golf Course is being built now in Revelstoke. And I really think Revelstoke is a gem now because I think what you're going to find is it's going to develop into a real four-season kind of city. So we're happy to be there. We want to be there more. But that is a real hidden gem because you're 45 minutes to Sicamous if you want to go jump in the lake, right? Or you want to go skiing, or you want to go down south to Nakusp, take the ferry down. It's a great base to kind of hang out and then kind of cruise around from there.
You know what? I'm going to go check it out because it's been a long time since I've been out to Sicamous, and I think we went right through Revelstoke.
Yeah.
So
and
I'm
most people do.
Stop now.
Most people stop in Revelstoke to go to the bathroom, get some lunch, get some gas.
Yeah.
Right? Or they get Revelstuck. So that's what happens. So that happened yesterday. They shut the highway between
Revelstuck.
Yeah. So then they get stuck and all the hotel rooms fill up for the night and everyone's on their way in the morning. So yeah.
Revelstuck.
So Revelstuck.
There's worse things you can be than Revelstuck.
Totally, yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? I really thank you for your time and coming in and sharing what is truly an Alberta success story.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and what an opportunity to grow something from the ground up.
Yeah, it's a great organization to be part of, and I couldn't see myself anywhere else. I really, really enjoy it. I miss being in the club business myself, but I'm happy to be a member. For example, here at the Petroleum Club, I think Tony Marie and her team here. And even when I walked in this morning, I heard a lot of "Hello, Mr. Joneses," and I think it's so important that, and that's why people want to be part of these great clubs. And I've been to a lot of clubs over my club career, visited a lot and seen a lot, but I think here at the Petroleum Club is a really special place.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us today on the Back to Business podcast. Be sure to visit calpeteclub.com, CalPeteClub.com, to find out more about upcoming events, networking opportunities, and membership. if you are not already a valued member at the CPC, where we are proudly connecting and supporting Calgary's business leaders.